Welcome to the Baller Boys podcast. They're all about sports, and more sports. And now, the Baller Boys, Mark and Shemaya.
Hey, welcome back to the Baller Boys podcast. It's your boy, Mark, but I am not alone in this endeavor. I am joined by my awesome co-host, the SOTB, Shemaya.
Yeah, I almost had to fight the mute button, but yeah, I'm here.
Just fighting the workday, fighting the mute button, maybe fighting some bad food you ate, maybe fighting a breakup. No matter what you're fighting, tune into the Baller Boys podcast weekly. We release multiple episodes a week, so don't miss it. We talk about all sorts of topics. We're here about sports, and more sports. And thank you for spending your time and listening to us banter. So, Shemaya, we got ourselves a hot topic that has been going around the NBA. It is NBA playoff season. Got to wait a little bit for some NFL stuff, but we are satisfied right now. Wild first round in the NBA right now. And we got a hot name that has been lighting up Twitter, and that is Mr. Ben Simmons. He's on everyone's minds right now, for better or for worse. Now, first, I just want to open by saying this. You know, we don't believe in like harassing players. I mean, memes, you can joke, memes are like jokey. They're funny. They're hilarious. But, actually personally messaging people and telling them they suck or they're awful or sending threats to people or their families. Don't do that, y'all. Don't be idiots. Don't be dumb. Don't do that. So, leave Simmons alone as far as, DMs and sending messages, just harassing the poor dude and anyone else. We don't want that. We don't want people to do that. We are here to talk about how we feel about the situation regarding this player, and that's what we're going to do. So let's get right down to it, Shemaya. Your thoughts. I want to hear your first thoughts before I go into a few little notes here.
That's my thought. That's exactly my thought, because that's basically the perfect example of where Ben Simmons was this whole season. Nowhere. He doesn't have any more explaining to do, to be honest, because he's already basically said what he wanted to say about the situation. It's embarrassing. If you're Brooklyn Nets, you have to be embarrassed. I mean, just saying. There's no way you can say you're proud of Ben Simmons, because there's nothing he has done. I mean, what has he done? I'm still looking for it. What has he done for the team? Seriously. Has he dribbled the ball? Has he shot the ball? Has he played any defense? Crickets. And that's all he gets from me. Like, that's basically my thoughts. Is nothing. And I will, just for the sake of the podcast, explain why. Simply because the fact all he has ever done was make an excuse. Ever since he's been given the opportunity to, I guess you can say, explain himself, I still feel like he doesn't even explain himself. Like, it's almost like you have to pay him for him to talk. You have to pay him to just get some kind of like information. He's simply just been absent. And I think it's unfair to the Brooklyn Nets. Even if his claim with his back, whatever, is legit, is still an embarrassment, especially if you're trying to call yourself, that elite player, athlete, whatever. I mean, I hear fans say, oh, y'all just want him to get hurt. If he's really hurt, let him be. I mean, to a certain degree, it's fair. But seriously, I just see excuses. And we're talking about from 76ers all the way to right now, where he's at. It's just nothing but excuse after another one. You think he's going to play? Something happened. Yeah, I'm trying to be careful because I won't say anything that will be like, disrespectful towards him, because I won't cross that line. But no, he's simply been absent. That's the fairest thing I can say. There, right on, go into a bad, rabbit hole where I start trying to talk about his feelings and his mind and all that stuff, mental space. Like, regardless of where that is, he's seriously just have not taken the opportunity to even prove that he deserves to even wear a uniform in the NBA. I'll go that far.
Yeah, I think he is all out of excuses at this point. Maybe earlier on in Philadelphia, I can kind of, I could see why people took one side or the other. There were issues. There was wrong on both sides by the organization and Ben. Ben didn't respond well. He didn't handle things well. I'll just go through some of this stuff. He was fined $20 million. This is him as a Sixer. He was fined $20 million for missing Sixers practices. Again, this is kind of earlier in indicators of how kind of conservative he is with himself. Like, he doesn't want to put himself out there on the floor, even if there's a little speck of something wrong, like with his mindset or anything, or, any little thing. That's what I'm getting out of this too. Any little thing that bothers him is going to prevent him from getting out there on the floor. And again, like you said, absent. That's a problem because he's absent from contributing to his team. There was that footage of him going through the motions at practice. Of course, with the drama going on between the two sides, he still should have looked better. He should have given it 100% while he was out there. At least keep himself in shape, because that actually plays a part later in what happens with him. His phone was not in his pocket, by the way. So I know, Twitter and also social media outlets are having a good time with him with a phone in his pocket. It wasn't actually a phone. It was another practice jersey or something. So that's cleared up, but still doesn't make him look good. Ben's camp got irritated by how the Sixers organization was treating him. The Doc Rivers comments, the Embiid stuff. But, the problem is, if you're a player and you hear a coach or a teammate talk about, like showing hesitation towards, yourself as a leadership or as an NBA player, like a grown man, a leader, that would want to prompt you to improve as a player, maybe grow in your character, maybe mature in your character, mature in your leadership, get a better jump shot, grow in your weaknesses. And Ben, even from his time as a Sixer, has continued to show that he has not done that. He does not want to do that. Still doesn't have a jump shot. His defense is premier. Let's not take that away from him. He is a great defender, and I hope he does come back fully healthy and able to show why he was so highly touted in the first place. But yeah, again, the jump shot, the failure to get that, just is an example of him not wanting to grow and mature in the league. And you have to be able to do that. And that's why it's so baffling to see this and talk about where he is right now, because you look at guys like Giannis who thrive off of criticism, thrive off of his weaknesses, and like looks to grow in every department that he can. Even got better as a 3-point shooter. Giannis had a really good quote on Twitter where he says, you grow through adversity. And that's the mindset that Ben needs to have. To me, it just feels like Ben is settling, and the excuses, like nothing he says right now, nothing his camp even says at this point, can kind of, I won't say salvage his reputation, but can warm people up to his reputation and his character. There's a lot going against him. And I think next season, once he's fully healthy, he just has to go out there and ball. He can't show attitude, no more excuses, no more little petty things. He cannot talk about drama from the past with Philly. He just needs to go out there and ball. And unfortunately, he's got another teammate who lets emotions get the best of him in Kyrie Irving, who let fans get to him when he's getting paid millions. He's a premier superstar in the NBA, making millions for playing basketball, living the life, playing with Kevin Durant, playing for the Nets, trying to revitalize an organization that hasn't done diddly squat in a while as far as a championship. Kyrie's like immature mindset doesn't help Ben either. So you got two characters on there who are struggling with their own emotions and struggling with dealing with adversity. And that's something we have to keep in mind when you got two big name players like that who are dealing with like issues like this. And then you got KD in the middle who's just trying to get in there and win a championship. It's a very complicated mess in Brooklyn. But again, Ben missed the post-trade deadline games with back soreness from a herniated disc. And again, this is after the trade deadline, so he's a Brooklyn Net at this point. March 18th was an original return date, but that never happened because of his back issues. And the Nets expected him to return for the first round of the playoffs. Of course, Ben didn't do that. He was declared out just like not too long before Game 4. He was declared out for Game 4 of the first round against the Celtics, despite that being his presumed return date, even if it was for limited minutes. But here's the big one, Shemaiah. So the Nets team and organization hoped they'd see Ben's resolve. That quote, and of course it's a larger quote. They wanted to see his resolve, aka him playing, even if it was just on limited minutes. They wanted to see his resolve. When a team and an organization, and when I say team, I mean players, wanted to see him play. They wanted to see his resolve. When they question the resolve of a player, that's already creating friction between Ben and the locker room. That's when you know there's already issues between his own guys and him. And that's why I'm worried about Ben, because, without having stepped foot on the floor of his new team, he's already ruffled many feathers. And we're talking team, like his teammates, the organization, the coaches, and the fans. Those Brooklyn fans are not going to be easy on him. And I don't know. The only way he can overcome all this is if he just balls out and just ignores the noise. But he's not the one to do that. That's the problem. And I'm shocked. Like somehow Ben's image is worse.
I'm not shocked.
I didn't think I could say that. I didn't think I'd say that.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. This is the way Ben Simmons has acted. Okay, I'm not saying this is how he is as an athlete, but simply how he's acted. All right.
So even at the trade, you thought that he wasn't going to change at all?
My gut was saying no. Nah, because here's the thing. I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say what I was going to say. But to answer your point, no, mainly because look at the talent he left and where he went to, okay? He didn't leave a scrub team. He left a good team to another good team. But guess who was the problem? Him. Not them. Him. So here's some metaphors for how he's acted with his attitude and his sense of urgency, to play with his teammates, right? Ben Simmons acts like a bike with no wheels. You wish you can ride a bike, but it's not going nowhere. Ben Simmons is like the cheapest stickers. They stick for a little bit, and then they don't stick no more. He's like a muted microphone. You have a lot to say, but you can't really get out there for the whole world to hear. Ben is simply the person that talks a lot of stuff, but he fails to prove his point.
I mean, does he talk?
Well,
that's the problem. He just doesn't communicate.
He's talked a little bit, but it's basically gibberish. It's basically
it's just complaints.
Yeah, it's basically, I hope you feel bad for me. It's not necessarily proof and facts of him actually having something to show to prove his reason of not playing. I'm not sure he can ever prove that what he's claimed was actually true in reality. I just don't see it. Partial true, maybe. But if you look at how many games he's missed, it's kind of hard to defend. It's kind of hard to defend that. Because the problem I see is the behavior, not necessarily if it's true or not. You see what I'm saying? Because think about this, man. If it was true, but he was talking all this stuff about, being an athlete or whatever, wouldn't someone in their right mind want to compete to get better? Wouldn't they show examples of maybe, I don't know, teammates, surrounding him and kind of mentoring him back to a mental state of return? You see what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't there be evidence of any actual sense of urgency, right? Because think about it. If you are trying to make the playoffs, which they did, Brooklyn, if you're trying to make a legit run to the championship, wouldn't there be a sense of urgency, though? You see what I'm saying? There was no sense of urgency. It was just simply, it's almost like he had the same facial expression or something, like a sigh. It's this and this, that. But it's like, bro, you are an NBA player. At some point, you cannot make those type of answers. I wouldn't call them excuses. I would say answers to people's question about you making yourself available for your team. Because I feel like he's done Brooklyn just like he's done the 76ers. He's pushed them away. He has not embraced anybody. You see what I'm saying? Like, the photo ops when he was like with them, when he got to Brooklyn, it did look inspirational because, like, oh snap, he actually smiled. He might be.
You saw him shaking hands with KD, it looked like he was getting to know his teammates.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, this actually be good. And the reason why I say I'm not surprised is because.
So you're not surprised that his image worsened, right?
No, that's right. I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. Even the fact that he didn't play. Because honestly, I did not see a fight in Ben Simmons for him to prove, right, to the whole world that he's actually trying to take some steps to get back on the court with his teammates, regardless of what team he is. And that is what hurts him as an individual, because he has not even showed baby steps of proof that he's trying to be on the floor.
The other issue here too is, I think, again, we talk about his just failure to communicate and respond via communication to certain things, like, I don't think he communicated just how, or there was some issue with communication with him in the organization about how bad his back issues actually are, because like their mindset was a March 18th return, and clearly something went wrong. The back wasn't ready, but he didn't. There's not a clear indication between the two sides, so there's just confusion. Everyone's confused. The organization doesn't know what to make of it. And then Bleacher Report released this. Ben Simmons told Nets leadership that a mental block for him to play is creating stress as a trigger point for his back issues. So mental block is a trigger for back issues. That just sounds like an excuse.
It sounds like a stretch. And if it's a stretch, not trying to make a joke there, then it may not be legit, man. Like, it's.
Well, what does that even mean? Is he not is it like, oh, I don't feel confident? Because like the second he got criticism in Philly, like from his coaches, from his teammates, instead of like answering the call and going out there and being like taking responsibility, showing strong leadership, he folds immediately and just gives up on himself and gives up on.
Did he have a bad back in Philly? Because it sounds like a pattern. It's time for me to have a bad back if you criticize me. Like, wait, you questioning? You questioning? Oh, my back hurts. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to make fun of it if it's legit and it's true. But I'm sure, I can't name them off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's athletes out there who has played in the game, let alone the playoffs, with a bad back. All right? Maybe not severe, but at least, a sore back, not to the point where it's unhealthy for them to be on, on the court. But it's like, what else can you say? Because now it's like, you said it, great. What are you going to do about it? Are you doing any kind of therapy, any kind of like evidence, like physical evidence that can show, okay, this is like for real? Because think of it, if you're an athlete and you're fighting to get back on the court, because that's what you want to do, right? That's your passion. Wouldn't you maybe do some kind of documentary of your process of healing? Like, for example, apples and oranges, I know, but look at Klay Thompson. When he was doing his recovery mode, you know what I'm saying? Some of that stuff was documented. It was inspirational because he's fighting to get back on the court. He was hungry. Like, basically, in so many words, not putting words in his mouth, but he's basically like, mine was in the beast mode. Like, I'm coming back to what I love to do, and that's play basketball for my team and to prove to the world that I'm a great athlete. You're not seeing that same, like, hunger from Ben Simmons. Maybe it's because he's, I don't know.
It feels like he just folds. He like hides. Like he's just afraid of the adversity. He's afraid to face his critics.
I mean, that, or he's playing on the world's like craziest, biggest comeback ever and shock everybody, and score like 100 points in the game or something. Because I just feel like this is hype. Like he's basically turned himself into a hype man that no one believes. Because he's just not taking action. He's not showing any kind of physical evidence that he's actually making effort to be hungry, to want to get to the game. Like, seriously, have you ever seen any evidence of him really, like, show proof that he's hungry to get back in the game, that he loves, right? We don't even know if he loves the game because he sure act like, it's not a big deal to miss the playoffs when your teammates need you the most.
And again, that mindset's happening because of all of the damage to his image that he has sustained.
I hate
between
to say
these two teams. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but if you look at any negative dark clouds in the room, it's him.
Yeah. I mean, the Nets, we'll talk about the Nets in another segment, but go ahead. Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying, like, he's the dark cloud, unfortunately. Maybe he didn't mean to, but I think he doesn't understand why people are frustrated. There are some people who are frustrated maybe for the wrong reasons, but he needs to tune them out. And he needs to listen to the ones who are frustrated because he's missed his shot, right? This is 2022. Y'all team was in the playoffs. You had a shot to at least look. If he played one game for 5 minutes and then he tweaked his back and was like, "Yo, my back is too sore," I would have respected that because that's proof of him actually making a effort, right, to show people that I actually want to play. He's not showing any hunger that I want to play basketball. He's basically showing the opposite, avoiding playing basketball.
See, and that's the importance of public perception with these like big athletes, like in the NBA on like the big stage, because they have to take that into account of how they're going to come across to just the general public, the media. And with him, okay, let's look at it from his perspective. Okay, like his back's not ready. He's dealing with soreness. Maybe he is dealing with mental issues. And like, again, we just discussed, maybe he doesn't have a good way of taking in all of that nonsense and garbage that the world's throwing at him, kind of, making fun of him and the harassment and stuff. And, maybe he legitimately just wasn't ready to go out on the floor. Well, the rest of the world's not going to see it like him. And he has to understand, that's where the communication comes in. And he should have let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to be out there for the series, like much sooner. It wouldn't put as much damage or heat on his reputation. And not only that, but it would give his teammates clarity too in the organization. And
even if he had like a doctor, professional opinion, right? To show evidence, proof that there is something wrong, that will shut everybody up. Seriously. Like that'd be like, okay, oops. I mean, well, sorry about that. And man, we hope you get better. But he hasn't even done that. I mean, has he? I don't know.
Again, communication. No, well, the thing is, it was a tweet by Bleacher that basically mentioned that, and like it was media outlets that made the news, but because from what I understand, but either way, the other problem is it's just all of this negative attention that Ben is garnered is now backfiring. Even when he may legitimately just be hurt enough to not get on the floor, people are still going to double down on, oh, it was an excuse. Oh, he just doesn't want to play. Oh, he's competitive.
Don't teams have doctors? I mean, am I mistaken?
Yes. Yeah.
Why not have your team doctor co-sign that this is legit that you're going through? Because I feel like there's some kind of like medical expertise talking versus like a professional person in the medical world actually co-signing, saying, hey, no, we had a long conversation and this is legit what he's saying. Like, he really needs to sit the season out or something like that. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, I agree. And it's really bad. It makes him look bad, though, because, I mean, this all makes him look bad, but this makes him look worse because there's this storyline where, okay, he's not going to play game 3. He missed his initial return date. Oh, he's gonna try and go for game 4. Oh no, he's gonna quit on the team that way. And that's the public perception. And the thing is, though, is that's what's frustrating, and that's what's allowing more heat on him. Is now there's this narrative of, okay, he has this chance to go out there and play, even if it's just for a few minutes. He has this chance to go out there and play, show his teammates he wants to play. Oh no, like he's hurt. He can't go out there after all. And it's just, again, people see that as another excuse.
It's like crying wolf.
Right. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a joke. People don't see it as a legitimate, okay, like he actually should not be playing, which I understand from a player's perspective. But now it's almost become, like you said, a joke from the public eye.
They get tired of caring is what happens. Because at first, all right, let's rewind the tape. At first, everyone hated what he was doing at 76ers and probably hated him. I was one of the people. But when this whole idea with Brooklyn came, I mean, I know I said I wasn't shocked, but I was inspired because I'm like, oh man, maybe this is what he needs, right? Maybe he needs.
Oh, well, we were both saying like this. Yeah. This could be the turnaround. Yeah, we're both like a
new scenery, a new locker room. You know, Kevin Durant, for crying out loud, like Kevin
he's
Durant,
out of Philadelphia. That was the big thing.
And he won. He won that better end of the deal because he was going to be with Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not trying to switch gears to Kevin Durant, but how would you think KD feels right now with Ben Simmons if we're keeping it 100? Like, he might understand because he probably talks to him more than any public person does, but somewhere in his heart or head, he's probably like, yo, bro, you left us hanging.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that that tweet came out about the team questioning his resolve. Again, that was a massive red flag for how that locker room is feeling with him right now.
I mean, they got done in. I mean, there's really no positive story for the Brooklyn Nets this season, except that they made the playoffs.
I mean, the entire season's been a disappointment, even before the playoffs. I mean, they were right at the bottom of the barrel near the end of the playoff seeding. They barely got into the play-in. Yeah, they were in the play-in. I know the media was all over the Lakers. The Knicks have been a total disaster. The Lakers were a mess, but this Nets team, hands down, is one of the biggest disappointments in the entire season.
The reason why I threw KD in the mix is because, think about it. Imagine how good that team would be if Ben was playing. They probably been like still playing.
But guaranteed. They might even get past this round.
So that's the most frustrating thing, because everything about like sports, you know, submitting your name and history, it's all about moments, right? It's about those special moments, the shift of momentum, you know, the leaders of a team just carries everybody else to recognize the mission. Like there's no other option. Like the only option is to win. And then the crowd goes crazy and you have such an inspirational story and, boom, 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 you get the chip and then you're the heroes of the city. Like those players have to think back their mind like, man, you you left us hanging, man.
Yeah,
like,
again.
He didn't even try. Like, did he even try? Was he playing practice?
Right. And again, this all ties into the perception and why I think that resolve comment was so important. Because, again, to me, it just felt like there's some sort of like lack of a communication between him and his teammates, him and the organization. There's some clarity that needs to be discovered here, and they need to fix their communication before they can't salvage this thing. Because I'll tell you what, going into next season, I can already see Brooklyn Nets fans booing Ben in his debut.
The only way
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, the only way they won't do that, right, is if Ben can prove without any doubt that everything he said was true. And then if he gets better, he needs to have some kind of film crew document his workouts throughout the summer so that he can prove to his teammates and the coaching staff and to the fans that I'm coming back with fire. That's the only way he can prove, right, that this whole thing is legit of what he's claiming. Because guess what, man? If he doesn't do anything in the summer, he doesn't do, good workouts and show like 1,000%. Man, if I was KD or anybody else on that squad, I'll be hot. It's like, wow, you really like slipping. Because you're showing us that you don't want to ball. You just showing us you just want to get paid, but you're not here for the love of the game.
Right. If I'm Ben, by the way, I really love your comments about him shooting like videos of him working out over the summer in the off season. Great idea. But you know what else he needs to do? Not say a word. Like don't critics. Don't bite back at critics. Don't pull a Kyrie and get mad at fans, especially Brooklyn fans. Just be quiet. Post your workouts. Post like how hard you're going. And in your debut, and when you do eventually play, ball out. That's exactly what he needs to do.
It will inspire people and it will make people say, okay, my bad. Okay, what you said was legit. But, man, he will miss the boat.
It'll shut him up.
Yeah, he will miss the boat completely, though, if he just, if he's caught just partying or just chilling for the whole summer or, doing minimum workouts, but, nothing to break a sweat. This guy got to be beast mode, like Klay Thompson was. He has to be, crazy, just, showing that he's sweating, that he is a baller. Because if you're a real baller, then you're going to just do it. You're not just going to talk about, I'm coming back. No, we heard that before, we heard that the first time. Show us that you really, really care about this sport, because it's almost an insult to the NBA and what it stands for. Everyone's dream, who was a basketball player, right? They want to make it into the major big league, and that's the NBA. So he's almost doing a disjustice for all the dreamers out there who actually would love to have this opportunity.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's got a great position.
And I hope he does prove me wrong. I hope I am wrong, because it would be bad for him if everybody else was right about him not being legit with why he's not playing.
Yeah, I do want to see him perform with the Nets, though. It'll be very interesting to see. I think it might be a little bit too early for them to cut him off, which is why I hope he turns this around and he improves communication between his camp and the Nets organization and his teammates. But he should not, again, he can't make the same mistakes that he did with Philly. He can't have his agent or himself respond to not liking Doc Rivers or the head coach's comments about him, or teammates, getting mad at his teammates for giving constructive criticism or potentially saying things that are there to help you grow and are honest things that he has to hear. And when his teammates in the organization say things about Ben's resolve and wanting to see it, they were hoping to see it, he needs to not respond to that by saying, "Oh, my teammates, they were bad mouthing me again." No. He just doesn't have to say anything. He just goes and shows it. Actions speak louder than words. And if Ben goes out there in the summer, works out, gets his back into shape, and goes out there in the first month when he's out in his debut, and he just balls and he shows what they traded for.
And the last thing I would say to add to that is that will give the front office and everybody associated with Brooklyn Nets confidence to have his back, because it'll be hard to defend somebody,
pun intended,
right? Who won't actually show up. It's almost like someone who claims that they are the best person on the squad, right? To go to work. But if that person isn't present, man, it's like you can't defend that for so long. Right. Because they have to be present, man, mentally and physically. Like, if he's not on that court, it's like, yeah, we like the motivational, like, pep talk that you kind of give. I mean, I wouldn't call it motivational, but it was almost inspirational because you wanted to believe that he's coming back. But then it was like, psych, I saw my shadow, so I'm going to go back and hibernate. It's like, at some point, you have to actually just show it. Like you said, show up or shut up. Because if you don't show up, no one's going to hear you. They're just going to see the lack of evidence of you showing that you actually are about the business and you love this game of basketball. Because if you really love this game of basketball, he would probably say something totally different. He'd probably say, "Hey, I'm sorry to the fans and to everybody who loved the Brooklyn Nets. I understand y'all disappointed in me not playing, but I promise you I'm just going through this stuff. And here's my little letter post on Twitter and Instagram. Writing letters to y'all, letting you know that I'm going to fight and get through this gray space area in my life, and then stick with me, and I'm going to give y'all everything I got." See, that right there will make everybody shut up, and then they be rooting for him. But he's not even doing that.
Yeah, he's not putting out an apology or
it's
anything.
A question mark, because it's like, you want to believe it, but then it's like, but you haven't made no effort.
Right. Well, there's no proof that you can believe in him. That's True. The other problem too, because with all of these delayed return dates and then him not returning at all. Again, when you say things, when an organization or a team or you mention things about a return date, fans are going to get excited because they want to see him play.
Because we wanted to believe that everything he was saying was legit, and then be inspired even more if he just played lights out, because it's a great storyline. But it's like a printer, paper jam after paper jam after paper jam. And it's like, bro, can we just
you're just tired of hearing it. Yeah. Like, just go out there. It doesn't matter what you say anymore. We want to see you on the court. That's basically what it's come down to.
Because fans are basically probably feeling this way. We were excited for you when you came to Brooklyn, but it's almost like you weren't excited to show us that, you had a plan when you came to Brooklyn. It's almost like you just came to Brooklyn for a check.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's going back to what we were talking about, a public perception. Like, how are the fans going to take you in? And again, it's just all these things are adding up to further distance himself and alienate himself from the fans and the organization. And again, the best thing he can do is get healthy, show his progress, communicate with the organization more and better, but don't start getting, biting back at critics or trash like meme stuff on social media. He just needs to stay focused. And I think, if and when he comes back healthy, that will affect his teammates too. They will be inspired because, like you said, there's the remnants of a great story here. There's something. And if Ben can come back fully healthy, I think Kyrie will be more inspired to be focused and see, okay, we got our special weapon that we traded for back on the roster. He's healthy. His back is good. We're going to wreak havoc in the East. We still got KD. We still got our bench. And I mean, the team is still solid. The team is still good. So they have a lot going for them in the future. And I hope Ben does turn it around, you know.
And real quick thing I'll say, because I know we're wrapping up on this episode, but one thing I'll say in all fairness to Ben Simmons, okay, if this is true, right? And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll find out later if it is or not. But if it is true and he's just having a very difficult time expressing what's happening because he's worried about how people will receive it or whatever, okay, great. If that's the case, man, when you get better, just show it, because it's the problem that he's going to face, right? If this all was just a fluke, it's probably going to stick with his career forever. And that's what he doesn't want. So hopefully all this is legit. And he's just got everybody all frustrated, and then he's going to excite everybody again. Then everybody's going to forget all this happened, right? Because if he goes crazy because he's healthy or whatever, and they win a championship, oh, guess what? Ain't nobody going to remember this. But if this was just a fluke and he used this just to, make people walk on eggshells, it ain't going to look good for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I completely agree. And worst case scenario for him, I mean, I would feel terrible if this happened to him. If he actually just, he comes back from the back injury and then he just gets hurt, he gets hurt again. That's my biggest fear, because that's the last thing he needed, if more injuries. And so I'm just hoping he stays healthy. We are rooting for him, and, we want him to live up to the potential that we know he has. And I hope he works on a jump shot. That's the big thing. While he's in Brooklyn, I hope his teammates can motivate him. The staff can motivate him. You got Steve Nash, who had one of the best shots in NBA history. I mean, as your head coach, you got plenty of motivation, plenty of drive there, many good supporting blocks for him to build off of. And I hope he takes full advantage of all that knowledge and Hall of Fame talent that's around him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all I can say is because we're at the point now where we all have exhausted what we think with our theory is, whatever, about his, personal situation on the court as a basketball player. And the ball is in his hands, it's up to him. He gets to write his story now. So hopefully it is what it is. Hopefully it's legit and he comes back healthy and shocks everybody. Because I'm telling you, man, if people find out this was just a fluke and he used it, for selfish reasons, he'd just be remembered as a selfish player who thought about himself and nobody else.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I hope he can turn around his image, and we'll just see where it goes. We just got to be patient and see what ends up happening. So, Shemaya, I think we got this, man. We covered it. Ben Simmons, not the easiest topic to address, but we got it. We want him to turn this around, do better. And, you got to be truthful. And that's what we do here on the Baller Boys. You got to lay it down. He's not in the best light, and hopefully he turns it around. But we got it done for this episode. Thank you all for joining us. Baller Boys Podcast. It's your boy, Mark. He's Shemaya, the SOTB. Join in, tune in every week. We release multiple episodes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on YouTube now as well. Go check out Baller Boys Podcast YouTube channel. Fun stuff. If you can't listen anywhere else and maybe you just prefer the YouTube app, go check it out. And if you like to listen to us banter, don't hesitate to, tune in, man. So with that being said, thank you for joining us. We talk sports, and more sports. And that's it, y'all. Tell your mom, tell your grandma. Peace out.